Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm super excited here today to be sitting down with my guest, Logan Moffett, who is a real estate agent and investor that specializes in owning and operating mobile home parks. So if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about what it's like to be an investor agent, what it's like to be a real estate agent who actually invests in real estate and actually represent other investors as well as learning a little bit more about what it's like to actually get into the mobile home park space as an investor, then today's episode is for you. So Logan is the leader of the Moffett Group, a top producing real estate investor team, and also owns nearly 150 rental units himself. So he has a lot of experience to share, and I'm super excited for him to be on the show today. But Logan, man, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk about real estate investing, always excited to talk about mobile home parks. It's the largest segment of non-subsidized affordable housing in the country by far. You see a lot of apartment buildings coming up. A lot of those are coming up because of tax incentives. And so us as taxpayers, we're paying for people to own multifamily, make a bunch of money. Well, there's so much opportunity in the manufactured home space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a very popular investment vehicle, if you will, for for a lot of investors out there. So I can't wait to dig on in kind of with you and your experience and a lot of the I guess the truths behind what it's like to be a mobile home park investor. But before digging into that, I would love for you to be able to share a little bit about just who you are, how did you get into the real estate space and how did you become an investor in the first place?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised out of Los Angeles area, and I grew up seeing these real estate agents making money, and if the name Countrywide is familiar with you, they had a big campus in the city that I grew up in, probably somewhere between 5 and 10,000 employees, like a lot of people. And so when the market was really good, people were making a crazy amount of money. My senior year of high school, junior, senior year, started seeing the Great Recession playing out, and which was okay for me because then I went to school, and I didn't have to feel the pain. But I saw people that were doing that. Some of the wealthiest people that I knew personally had made their money in real estate, and they were people that I could ask questions to and talk to them about. And I just started seeing this trend. And the truth is, in our country, the majority of millionaires are created through real estate. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy being a millionaire through real estate, and I don't necessarily have to say I'm going to start the next Amazon and become a billionaire, because it's one of those things where if you want to become wealthy and you can follow the good principles and just continue to double down on that, you're going to make a lot of money. There's good fundamentals in real estate, and if you can keep those, you're going to do great. Um, After growing up in California and going to school, I ended up going to I went on a mission for my church in Honduras for 2 years, and that was a great experience. I saw more people that were building apartment complexes in Honduras and collecting rent, and I remember meeting this guy who, man, he was probably somewhere in 25, and he inherited like three houses from his dad, who was pretty old, and his dad passed away. Like his dad was probably like 50 or 60 when he had him, sort of difference. And he lived on the rents. He was one of the only people that had a pickup truck or even had a car in this town, and he lived on the rents. So you start seeing these little things as you're growing up, and it leaves an impression. Um, the other piece of it is that I started seeing it. I started feeling like it was a clear path to build wealth, and I went to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. That's how I ended up in Utah. I actually never thought I was going to be in Utah. I thought I thought I'd go back to California. I actually had a job in California working for LA County Fire Department, and I was working on the beach. It was great. I worked at Santa Monica and Venice, and it was awesome. I mean, how do you beat working on the beach? Real estate investing, I guess. But um, I went from doing that to being in college, going to BYU. Originally, I was studying political science, thinking I was going to go to law school. Then I switched to business, and then I switched to Spanish because I learned Spanish in Honduras because I did some sales jobs and made some good money and realized I needed to get out of school. I needed to start working. I did not want to keep. I wanted to build something. I wanted to build a business that could pay me forever. And I switched to my I switched to Spanish, had a business minor done at that time, and just focus and got done in 3 years. So I got my 4 year degree in 3 years. And I wouldn't say it's because I'm exceptionally smart. I think it was I was very driven. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't even know what I didn't know, but I did know that I wanted my retirement to be real estate. That's what I knew. So I thought, okay, so I signed up for a real estate class, an online course outside of college, and that was you sign up for it, you're not sure how long it's going to take you to do. Then I got busy in school, and I revisited it back um, after I graduated. So in 2014 is when I graduated from college, and then I thought, okay, I got to start doing this. I was still working some other sales jobs, and I thought, I don't really care what I do in selling. I was okay putting in a ton of work to be able to save decades of my life where I'm not working. Right? I know a lot of us have seen our parents who maybe are still working, and they're my parents, they're both in their mid 60s, late 60s, and I don't want to have to work when I'm that old. I don't want to have to work after I'm 40. Right? I'm 33 now. I got plenty of runway. I'm about a right now. I we just purchased another mobile home park. We're about 194 rental units roughly, and we just keep buying them because I think that's the one of the best vehicles as a real estate investor. It's really hard to beat it. We also do some development, which are talk a little bit more about, but I was just smart enough to know, let's get my license so I can learn how this worked. And I went and got my license. I was still working that other job. I actually was buying Zillow leads for about $60 a month. And my second lead bought a home. And once I got that check, I realized I needed to quit my job. And I quit my job. I put in my 2 weeks, I got out of there. And yeah, the rest is history. I mean, I learned I can make good money. I mean, the first few years, it always feels like you're on a treadmill, that you're never getting ahead. It's very difficult to get to the point where every month you feel like you're getting ahead versus staying in the same spot or further behind. And for all of those agents that are watching this, I think it's important that you understand that if you're only closing a deal a month, you're not gonna get ahead. 2 deals a month will get you slightly ahead. You can maintain 2 deals a month and then throw in a few months, maybe the summer months where you're closing 4 or 5. That's when things start changing. And if it's not you being a real estate agent, you got to make money somewhere else. I think like you don't have to have money to buy deals. You don't have to have a lot of money, but it makes it a lot easier. So I got to the point where I was doing my first full year. I closed about 36 deals, and I had sales experience, which helped. And I was just really determined that I was going to make something of myself. And, like I didn't own a home. I rented a bedroom for my buddy that I was in a band with for $100 a month. And he was just nice to me, and I was stingy. And I was working out of my bedroom. I didn't own a house. I was 24 years old. Didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I could do it. So fast forward, I bought my first property in 2016. I actually only had 1 year of tax returns, but I had 20% down. Bought my first house for 212, still own it. little blue house in Provo, Utah. I bought it in March of 2016 because my fiance at the time, we were looking at married housing and it was really expensive. And so I thought, man, maybe I could buy something. Started looking and we got it. To put it in perspective on that property with how powerful real estate is, I bought it for 212. Today it's probably worth 550. And I did a cash out refinance, pulled all of my original money out on it. And originally, when I started renting it, I think I was renting it for like $1,100 to $1,200 a month. And today it's renting for $2,300 a month. And I haven't made any major improvements. I bought appliances. So I think when we're buying for the short term is when we get in trouble. When we start buying with a long-term perspective, everything changes because our whole entire financial market is based on the idea that real estate will go up. And not even just real estate, is the idea that assets will go up. The stock market will go up. Any type of commodity over time will go up. And that's how our financial system is set up because the Fed is expecting inflation, some degree of inflation. So, I mean, if you can put your money somewhere, you want to put it somewhere where it's not going to go down in value, right? So, I mean, if all you did was buy cars, not even classic cars, just cars, hoping that that was a storage of value, you'd be really disappointed. Um, yeah, so then I started buying. I believe my first park I bought in 2018. It was on the multiple listing service. That was the park I was working at yesterday, moving all that rock around. That park it's actually really fun. So getting my real estate license taught me how to negotiate a lot better real estate deals. And what we ended up doing was I bought this one with a partner. The park was on the market. We were the fourth buyer. 3 buyers canceled before us. They were very motivated. And the guy had some land down the street for sale as well, about 3.5-ish acres, 3 acres. We offered him 230 and asked for the land to be included as well. And he accepted. So that land today is probably worth between $100,000 and $150,000. Just the land. So I think sometimes we put ourselves in a spot where we're not willing to ask because we're a little bit scared. But my goodness, some of these things that are so small can make you so much money if you just don't be afraid to ask. So we took care of both of those deals for that guy. And he was happy to get out and move on because he was worried he could never sell it. So that park today is probably worth, I won't go into all the details on it, but we more than doubled the size of it because we bought a house next door and went to the other development. We're going to be completely full this September. And we went from 15 spaces to 33 plus a house. And all in, we bought the park for 230. We bought the house for 190. And we probably put in about 150,000 into the infrastructure. The loan on it now is 400 because we used some of that to build the infrastructure. But the park now is worth between 2.5 and 3 million. And it has a really good chance that it will cash flow close to $200,000 a year net. So again, talking about that compounding, that ability to make better decisions over time. In all of the spaces are all brand new homes, all of them. They're brand new homes, and the park looks amazing. We're putting in like a little park. It's exciting. Lots of good things happening. I know the question was an introduction on me, but you're kind of seeing this timeline. And as I was buying these parks, I continued doing real estate, continue doing all of that. I personally don't take any online leads anymore. I work mainly with past clients and referrals. My team takes all the online leads. So we are a Zillow Flex team, do a lot of deals with Zillow Flex. We're one of 3 of those teams in the state of Utah. We also have an expansion team in Northern California in Fremont. So, and then we're working on another another expansion team in the Midwest right now. So hoping that that'll happen soon. We should find out this month. My second mobile home park that I bought in March of 2020, right around there. And I found it on Facebook. Somebody asked in an investment group, how do you sell a mobile home park? And so I said, hey, give me a call, talk to me. And this deal, if you are familiar with Utah, it's near Park City and Sundance. It's actually in between Sundance and Park City. So the Sundance Film Festival, Park City is a super expensive area. I mean, there are homes that are worth tens of millions of dollars in Park City, which is probably one of less than 20 markets in the country like that. That would be like a Jackson Hole. It would be like a Del Mar, you know, areas like that. There's a lot of money there. So I bought this park, seller finance, 0 down, 4.4% interest, 30-year note. And I bought it for $599,000. And that park pulls in about $16,000 a month today. That didn't happen overnight. When I bought the park, I got a house and I got 7 mobile homes, and then there were 2 RV spaces. I brought in 2 more homes, put them there. And what we ended up figuring out was that, well, I own this myself. So what I ended up figuring out is that the houses, this is the best part. So I bought seller finance. I started seller financing all the homes. And when I started seller financing all the homes, everything changed, right? Because it put us in a spot where now, instead of collecting, the rents were $550 to $600 per unit before. My highest paying is a non-seller finance just for rent, and it's at $2,500. And that is a brand new home. I brought in a brand new home, bought in cash, brought it in. And then the other homes that I did on seller financing, I have one that pays me $2,300 a month. Another one for two other ones for $2,000. So you can see all of a sudden, like, I was able to do that, and it's over, some of them are over 13 years. So one of my favorite things with these mobile home park communities is figure out what assets are there and what value is there. I bought another park recently, the end of last year, and we got 8 mobile homes with it, and then 2 single family homes. One of the mobile homes, so the whole park, we put down just over $50,000. What ended up happening was we had somebody that wasn't paying us. We got him out of there, renovated the house, sold the house for $45,000. And we still get a lot fee on it, right? Like, so there's advantages to a manufactured home community that you won't get with an apartment complex. And a lot of that comes down to how you disposition your assets and how you deal with it. But now I got 7 more to sell. A park that I bought for $700,000. Another example with that park, with this ability to really increase value, on one of the single family homes, it was renting for $650 a month. It tested positive for meth. We went and did meth remediation on it. Cost us about $5,000. We did a $7,000 rehab on it, and we re-rented it out for $1,400 a month. And it was at $650. So what I'm really getting at is that with mobile park communities, so many of them are not managed their highest and best use, that the owners have no idea what the value is. And I don't know exactly what they are until I can mess around with the numbers, right? And try and see what it is. So, like, I won't say that it's the owners that are they're not being taken advantage of, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, we don't, we're taking a risk as well as buyers when we take it over. But they have a problem, and their problem is they can't handle the asset in a way that makes it profitable for them, or it takes too much time, or it's too much of a headache. But if you can have some thick skin and just deal with problems as they arise, like, this is just how it works. So Yeah, I know that was a long monologue and it wasn't as funny as SNL, but maybe next time.
No, man, I think it's great that you actually shared your journey from getting started in real estate, all the way from like what inspired you to get into real estate to like, what you're actually doing now. Because a lot of people when they're, on the outside looking in, or when they're, maybe just getting started or in the midst of things, they don't see like such an end to it, right? They see them, struggling, they see what's going on right now, but they don't see that the compounding effort that you've seen, right? Unless they've actually followed through and went through with it like you did, right?
Yeah.
Being able to build out your portfolio like you have. So, something you mentioned there I want to touch on now is you ended up getting your real estate license. And one of the, the reason you said, sorry, the reason you said that you got your real estate license was because you wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. You got your license so that way you can be involved in it, right? Is that something, if you went back, you would do the same way? Because, obviously you have your team of agents and you're still doing deals and that's part of your business. But as there's a lot of investors out there who they don't, they aren't licensed, they don't want to get their license,
Yeah.
would you think it's beneficial for them to be licensed?
Oh, that's a great question. My brother-in-law recently went from a business that he had wanting to start investing in real estate with me, and I told him not to get his license. And a lot of that comes down to I have my license, so he doesn't have to have his license, right? So there is that side of it. But I don't know if I would have learned what I know if I didn't get my license and did a bunch of transactions. I mean, we've done, I don't know, we probably did close like 700 deals as a team since I've been in this business. That's a lot of deals. And I get to see a lot of negotiating, I get to see a lot of problems. And what is real estate investing? Just solving problems, right? Um, I would say that if somebody is determined and doesn't have people to help them on the investment side getting into it to get their license or get a sales job. Actually, that's probably what I got even more. Find a good agent that is competent and smart, that's going to be looking out for your interests versus their pocket. And make money. I know a lot of people do wholesaling. I deal with wholesalers. I've never done a wholesale deal myself, giving it to somebody else, assigning it to somebody else, but we do buy wholesale deals. And I think there's value for both the wholesaler because they get an assignment fee and for the investor. I think you have to be careful with sellers, right? Most of the time, I think these homes should be on the open market. They make more money. Um, but some people just want to move on, right? They don't want to go through that process. They don't want to deal with, a month of issues. They just want to sell. So, um, yeah, I know that's not a very clear answer, but it comes down to how quickly can you achieve financial freedom. Financial freedom is created by having multiple streams of income that pay you consistently. And I will even say, even if it's things that you have to work in initially, day in and day out, like showing homes or getting listings. I think most agents overcomplicate this business and they don't spend enough time doing the right activities. And you can say that about non-agents in any industry, but I think we're especially guilty of that. If you have a part-time job and you're an agent, you're probably not doing very many deals.
Right. Exactly. So,
Same thing for real estate investing, though.
yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty much across the board, right? Across most most industries. It's
Yeah,
pretty much the same. But I got what I got from what you said there was, as an investor, you want to have at least somebody on your in your circle, on
yeah,
your team that is licensed because they can really help you out with, not just their experience, but being able to help you with your business and certain things that you can do with a real estate license that you couldn't do if you didn't have somebody, whether internally or in your
Yeah,
circle,
I,
that can
I
help you
think
with that.
one thing I'll add is be very careful about the vehicle that you want to create to get you to success and be intentional about what that actually looks like. I manage all of my own properties, right? I mean, I have a team that I think we did 112 deals last year. Do a lot of deals, but I have a sales manager. I have an admin that helps on that side. And then right now on the investment side, I have two admin. Because for me, I'm building a business, I'm building a system. I only manage two properties for other people. And I only do it under rare circumstances because I'd rather manage my own stuff. I'm not as excited about managing other people's stuff. So I think in the big picture, you need to decide what you want your life to look like. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money in lots of different pieces of real estate. So don't act like one is going to be the best. Act like they're just different. And which aspect of real estate is the best for you? Is it wholesaling? Is it learning how to do development, getting parcels entitled and selling them? Is it doing development? Is it, I mean, you get niches that are all down to even country clubs and office warehouse. And I mean, you name it, there's a piece of it in real estate. So I think figuring out what vehicle you want to get into, get to, to become successful and being honest with yourself, I think is the real right answer. Because if somebody doesn't really want to be an agent, or if somebody doesn't want to actually learn that piece of the business, they don't need to. But for me, this has always been about the long-term goal. And I'm surprised how fast I've been able to get to where I am. I don't, I mean, I think we all got lucky. Those that are holding on to real estate, we all got lucky when COVID happened and we gained, I mean, in Utah, we gained over 30% equity in a year and a half. It was like almost 40%. Um, I mean, I made millions of dollars in equity a year because I had a lot of properties. And for those that don't own properties, don't act like that's over because there's so much opportunity in the future. But I'm not going to say that there's not um, there are factors that are outside of my control that if I'm doing the right things, they're gonna compound on me. So decide that vehicle, figure it out. And I mean, I think everybody needs to have some type of mentor where they can ask questions and talk through things. If you don't have a mentor, I'm a big book guy, I'm a big YouTube guy. If you don't have a mentor that you can ask some hard questions and they can be a little critical of what you're doing and honest, you're probably going to take twice as much time to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so crucial. Just having somebody there to who's done it, right? Just having somebody who has done what you want to do or who is currently doing what you want to do as well. So I think it's, I really like the advice that you're giving because, there's a lot of people out there who they're getting into real estate and they don't really know what they're doing, right? They don't really know what they want. Well, not that they don't really know what they're doing, just they don't really know what they want to do, right? They get their license and they say, "Oh, I'm going to be an agent," but they don't really want to be an agent, right? They really just kind of want to be an investor. So, you don't, like you said, you don't have to be, right? Maybe you just have a license, or maybe you have somebody in your team that has a license, right, to help you out with that. And I love what you said about building a business as well. So things that are scalable, things
Yeah.
that will pay you over time consistently. That is so key, so crucial because people get into real estate, whether if it's on the sales side or whether they're a wholesaler or even a flipper, right? They're just constantly grinding the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, and they don't have a system in place. So we'll talk a little bit more about this right here, and then we can move on here into the more on the mobile home park, but you're building a team, right? So you've got a team of real estate agents. You're expanding into different markets as well.
Yeah.
Has that always been the plan when you were first an agent, or did that just kind of come naturally? And what was that like transitioning from an individual to more of a leader? type
Yeah, so
role?
it kind of fell on me in a pretty natural way. And then once I realized that I can get paid on people showing homes and writing offers, and I really, this is the difference. When you have a team, your hours change from I have to answer this client right now to I put in the work when I'm training and coaching the team, when I'm working on the team. And then you look at what you can outsource, then you outsource it. The problem that most teams run into is you have, I know all real estate agents are divas in a way, right? Um, you get these really strong personalities that are more focused on themselves and their team. The moment I took myself out of normal production, I had to focus a lot on the team members if I wanted to make money. Otherwise, I would be constantly battling them, you know, and shouldn't make sense. So, um, any new agent should find a team, I would suggest, because if you don't, you're going to have a really hard time. And then the other little warning that I'll give is if you can't make it on a good team, you're not going to make it. I don't even say probably. You're not going to make it on your own. Can't make it on a team, a good team that provides leads, provide good training, you're not going to make it on your own. It is the biggest crutch that you can receive in a good way, is being on a good team that will train you and give you leads. And the training is how to convert those leads. I've never had an agent leave my team that has been more successful than not. And I maybe I could see maybe a couple people that, well, let me rephrase that. I've never seen an agent on my team who is successful or who is, let's go, already the whole thing. I've never had an agent on my team who was not successful in the team that was successful after. Never. The only people that have been successful are the agents who were successful in the team. So hopefully I was a little more clear, but um, I mean, there's so many agents in this country. Even after the NAR settlement and all of that, they barely lost any numbers.
Right.
And you know, I don't see too much changing. You know, I think we're gonna have a lot of agents. I heard a statistic for Utah that 50% of agents do one or less transactions per year, and I bet you that's basically national as well. So if half the agents are doing one or less deals per year, then it's a spot where they're not making enough money to make it worthwhile. If you're not making enough money to make it worthwhile, you're never going to invest in real estate. And all real estate agents, their goal should be buying rental properties. That should be the goal.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of agents out there who are preaching buying real estate who
Yep.
are not doing it themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it's a personal property or an investment. But I'll be honest, rarely I find an agent who knows how to invest in real estate. I find most agents pushing for what they've seen other agents push without understanding why.
Yeah, it's a surprising amount, right? It's a surprising amount of agents who don't understand investments, who aren't, the true investor agent. A lot of them will market, you know, they'll market their services and their market, real estate as a whole is like, oh, this is a great investment, right? And you hear all the different, things that agents will say about why real estate's a great investment, but they're not really in the game, right? They don't actually understand what it's like to deal with an investment property, what it's like to build a rental portfolio. They're not speaking the language, or don't have they don't have a bigger pockets account, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand what's going on as well. But yeah, no, I think it's important to kind of understand what you're doing, right? As a team leader, when you're expanding the team, right? It makes more sense for you to spend your time to invest in those agents. And you're absolutely correct on that, where if an agent's not able to make it where there's enough support there, where you're providing them leads, you're providing them support, you're providing them guidance, they probably won't make it on their own as well, because now it's, everything they have to do when they're on a team, but plus the additional building the actual business side as far as generating leads, creating your own marketing, and actually being accountable to yourself, and following up with those leads as well. So that's so important. That's so important there. But yeah, man. So I'd love to now, kind of shift a little bit into more of the mobile home park side and what you're doing. You mentioned, some of the stories that you bought your first couple mobile home parks. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so what is it like, right? So for somebody who doesn't own mobile home parks, for somebody who is getting, they want to get into buying mobile home parks and owning it, what is that like for them? What does it look like as far as buying a mobile home park and actually operating it? Versus just, kind of what comes to mind when people say real estate investing, which is, buying a single family property and then renting it out to somebody.
Yeah. The biggest and most interesting part about mobile homes when we talk about real estate is they fit in this gray area. Um, they're very unique because many times, especially when you talk about like investor grade type mobile home parks, the investor owns the land and the house is owned by the tenant.
Hmm.
And that has a lot of legal implications. The notices are different. If you have to give somebody any type of notice, any of those things, they're different. I have a one park in Nevada. Fortunately, I own all the homes in there, and so I get around a lot of these rules. But I mean, you have to, if you go to get somebody out of there, you have to go as far as doing an auction on their house to sell their house as the owner. Like there's just all sorts of rules that so it fits in a gray area, and there's a lot of pieces like that. Anytime I deal with cities, they don't even know how to deal with them, like ever. They have no idea how to deal with them, and you run into that over and over and over again. Um, it's a much more hands-on investment than what people are used to, in the sense that depending on where you have your parks, your battle will be rent collections, some will be lots of repairs if you own the homes. The ideal situation is you don't own the homes. If you don't own the homes, what you're going to run into is, are the utilities in the park good? If all the utilities are good in the park, you could have it where you're completely hands off. You could just collect a check every month. I have a few parks that feel more like that. But the other side of it too is there are some parks that don't have great utility set up. And like I have one park that every month the electrical bill has to be charged to them one at a time by us. So I pay the power and then they have to go and I have to collect it back. And I have another one that happens with water. So there's little things like that that could be time consuming. The biggest part of my niche that I found was small and medium-sized parks that have non-professional owners. That's what I buy. I'd be very careful which states you buy parks in because of the different laws and how that impacts it. And honestly, it's not even just parks. I would never buy anything in California, and I'm from there. If I was to do anything in California, I'd be building multifamily near transit hubs for development, and then I'd be selling the complexes or selling condos. I would not want to be stuck with rentals in California. And I could name a handful of other states that I wouldn't want to buy in, because our economy is huge and you have a choice of where to buy. Don't be dumb. Buy in places that are good, right? I think there's so many investors that they just want to get a deal so bad. They go on auction.com and see a $20,000 house and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they go and they buy this $20,000 house. And they're like, wow, am I ever going to see this thing? Now they're trying to get contractors, they're trying to manage this thing. It's like, be smart about this. I had a moment like 4 years ago. Utah kept getting more and more expensive, and I felt like I'd never get a lot of rentals here. And I asked myself, am I saying that and looking at places in the Midwest because it's the best investment or because it's cheap? There you go. That's my philosophy, right?
Yeah, there's a like you said, there's so many investors. I hadn't heard that one before where they just go on auction.com just
Yeah,
sit
I
there.
know someone bought a duplex in New York State like that.
Was that their first investment? Was that
Yeah,
or
they haven't done too many. Oh,
yeah, that was the first that's the first I've heard of that. I've heard of other stories of investors getting into deals or it's not they don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to get into a deal just to say they got into a deal. But yeah, the no, that's kind of that was kind of out there. But yeah, okay. So on the mobile home park side, right? So there's two ways in that you're doing a little bit of both, right? So there's one where you just own you own the land and you don't own the homes
yeah.
outright, and there's ones where you can own the homes as well and rent out the homes
Yeah.
to
And
the
you could make a lot of money owning the homes. But I would say selling them is best, seller financing them is second best, and third is renting them. But the truth is, you just need to have your park full. If you can have your park full and have people pay you, the chance of you not making money is low.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like the numbers are going to be a little bit different per deal and per the area, but just from kind of what you guys are seeing, what does that number look like? You mentioned some of the numbers when you guys are renting out,
Yeah.
or seller financing some of the homes. What does it look like, when you just own the park, just own
Yeah.
the,
So, like, I'll give you a good example. In one of my parks, the first one that I ever bought that we did the expansion on, um, a used home rents for $1,100 a month. The other ones on the space rent, I make $350. So it's almost like a 3-to-1 income wise. Now I think our lot rents are a little bit lower than they should be, but the new homes we're bringing in are renting for up to $1,600 a month. So, and they're new, they're going to last longer, right? I mean, we have on 11 new homes, we have a loan that's a 10-year paid loan. It's fixed for the first 2 years. Our plan is once rates come down, we're doing a refinance, pay off that debt and any other debt we have on it. And we have a loan of probably around 1.1, 1 point, maybe even up to 1.3. But on something that's worth 3 million, we're probably going to pull out some money and be able to actually, make distributions between me and my partner. So that's in that park. I have a few parks where I own all the homes. And the used homes are renting for $1,000, 1,100, and these are in more rural areas. So like I have an apartment building that I built, and we're renting those on the low end for $1,350, and I have mobile homes that are renting for $1,100 a month, and I have mobile homes that are new that are renting for $1,600 a month. Think about that. And the apartment complex, I'm not even at 1,400.
yeah. So, I mean, the numbers, they can vary, right? So you don't, anybody take that, like, just use that as like metrics. But yeah, so there's a lot you can do with
Yeah.
a mobile home park. You have a lot of flexibility, it sounds like, with what you want to be how do you want to run it, how hands-on and how hands-off you want to be with that as well. That kind of ties into maybe kind of what you guys are currently doing now. You and I were talking a little bit about even before the show, which is getting into development deals as well. Because it sounds like, mobile home parks and development deals, even for like residential property, there's some similarities there. And it feels like a transition into potentially that's the next opportunity. Is that kind of what you guys are doing as well, or?
So I have 9 mobile home parks. Last year I started a fund buying these small parks. We have 3 of the parks in the fund. So 6 of them I have outside of the fund. Of the 9, 7 have been seller financed. And I think 5 were 0 down up front. So I think we have to have a shift a little bit of how we're thinking about real estate. Real estate is all the same language. There's just different pieces. And whether it's development or short-term rentals or mobile home parks or apartment complexes, I believe that in the long term, I will be moving towards more and more development type deals and new construction. There's a lot of opportunity in that right now. I don't know. Most people are so scared to build anything, but there's a ton of opportunity. And then if you know seller financing and you put that in the deal, I'll give you a quick example on the agent side. I have a seller who wanted to sell some land. We had it on the market a couple of years ago. Then I found a developer who was saying he's looking for another project. And I said, hey, I got this seller. Well, it's 136 acres in Utah County, which is our second most populated county in Utah. And it's where the majority of the growth is happening. In that area, you can do 5-acre lots. So we could do between 25 and 27 lots. I brought the seller and I brought the buyer. So I negotiated a 6% commission on $8.5 million. I went and said, hey, because we're doing seller financing on this, I set up a seller finance deal where the seller gets paid as he sells lots. This developer owns a company that puts curb, gutter, sidewalk, and utilities in. It's like a match made in heaven, right? And I told him, hey, I will take a finished lot as commission. So now that makes the seller finance deal work. And then a few of the other lots are going to be purchased by, like, the seller's going to take one of the lots so you can build a house, different stuff like that. But there's going to be like another 22, 23 lots that need to be sold. The buyer said, I want you to sell them all. So that's another 14 million plus of real estate. So because of my understanding of how development works, I could put all those pieces together and utilizing seller finance. So going back to my analogy with language, if you can understand these pieces, you can put together everything for a big picture, right? To make these deals happen. My first development deal, there was a house on the multiple listing service and needed to be torn down. It was in bad shape. And I was able to get it approved for 23 condos. My partner and I bought it for $230,000 and we sold it for $530,000 as an approved project. I went to the property twice. I never did anything to the property besides the entitlement. So as all the other agents are worried about just getting a deal closed, I'm trying to do that, but I'm also trying to learn how this works. I'm trying to learn the language of real estate.
Yeah, and you can do a lot more, right? And both the investor side and the agent side, when you're in it like the way that you are, right? You're trying to learn everything. You're trying to put these deals together that a lot of agents they're just not able to, right? Because you hear this is the big opportunity. I think a lot of agents are not privy of, which is exactly what you did when you're in your story of putting together that deal with the seller with the land and also the development. Because now what you can do is you're selling that to the developer, but the developer needs somebody else to sell the land or their lots to builders, and then even sometimes they can even get the listings on the the builders as well. So a
Yep.
lot of agents who know how to do this are getting like essentially three cuts of that same project.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you can look at the investing side as well, where there's all of these different pieces that connect to each other, and you just have to go and put them all together. I think, again, we overcomplicate this. You have to be careful, but you shouldn't complicate real estate.
Yeah.
Um, Mobile home parks, I believe, and I would even say small and medium-sized multifamily is the greatest opportunity for new investors. More than single family homes.
Yeah, and a lot of investors are scared to start out, I think, in multifamily. So what would you say to people who are starting out and they're newer coming in, they think they got to start with a single family in order to build up to that multifamily,
Yeah, well, there's less risk because you have multiple tenants. So would you rather have a fourplex with one vacancy or a single family home with a vacancy? I think people are worried at the unknowns, but it goes back to creating that vehicle and the systems. You can fill one unit, you can fill 4 units. We just had to fill 8 apartments on this new apartment building, and we're almost filled, and we had to do commercial as well. Guess what? I don't do a lot of commercial retail, and we have a letter of intent for like 75% of the space, right? I mean, that's just how this works. It's sometimes you have to get in on the deals so you can learn, so you can remember. I think the biggest waste of time would be somebody going to college with a real estate degree and they've never even done it. All right. But they don't have an experience. So they're not like applying to anything. Yeah, you're gonna go get hired. You might end up making 100 to $150,000 a year, but you're never gonna build any real wealth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different way of thinking. I think it's a
Yeah.
different way of approaching real estate. It's a different way of thinking about it. And you're right, you gotta get into it, gotta take action, and that's how you start building wealth, and that's how you've done it in your journey, your business. And yeah, man. But Logan, man, I appreciate you. I think you shared a ton of value. You were really willing to share kind of a lot what's going on in your business and how your operation works, and some of the things that's worked for you, which I really appreciate. I think our listeners and our viewers really do as well. So for anybody who is watching this or listening to this that want to follow you on socials, that want to know a little bit more about what you're doing, kind of follow you and see kind of the behind the scenes, all the stuff. Or maybe they want to be part of your expansion team if they're an agent as well. They're getting into real estate. What are some of the best ways for people to reach you?
So my background, I have my handle for a few different sites. I'm most active on Instagram. Um, but I'm an open book. So people can ask me any question. I'm more than happy to answer to the best of my ability. Doesn't mean I'll be right, but I'll give you my honest answer.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And we'll make sure to leave the links to those handles in the description down below as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, let's see if I can find it. There we go. Right
Yeah,
here.
there it is. Multifamily Moffett. So that's the handle, right, for all of your socials.
Multifam Moffett.
Multifam Moffett. Yep. We'll make sure to leave that in the description down below as well. So links to your Instagram, your YouTube channel, and your Facebook as well. So that way people can find you easily. But other than that, man, hey, appreciate you being here today. Is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you want to just leave with the audience before I let you sign off here?
The last thing I will say is that you need to understand, going back to that vehicle, really what you want to accomplish. What I see more often than not with agents is they get busy being an agent when they really wanted to be an investor.
Yep. And that's going to stop them from building their wealth. So,
I mean, if you're only spending time doing things that you get paid based on your activities and you're never building actual passive income, the best time to start is now. And honestly, it doesn't have to be real estate. If you want to buy stock and make money that way, you can do that. That's fine. But the problem that I see is you get these agents that want to buy real estate. I mean, I know this guy that he's been doing this for like 20 years. He told me, oh, I have 4 rental properties, 4 houses. And I was like, I've been doing this at the time, it was like 5 years or something, and I had like 50 units. You know, like you're gonna get you're gonna get out what you put in. And if you spend all your time having fun trips at the lake or fun trips to the beach instead of actually building wealth, and all your money is going into toys, that's why you don't have wealth. It's not because you were too busy, it's because you decided to prioritize other things.
absolutely. Priorities. Great
Yeah.
way of putting it, man. Well, Logan, appreciate you. Appreciate you
Thanks
being
for having
here.
me, Kobe.
And yeah, of course, man. And we appreciate you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.